Hey everyone, it's Desiree. So for this video, we're just going to make a card. I am a fan of these seagulls, and I had gotten this a while ago, so we're going to play with the seagulls. The first thing that I want to do is I want to create the ocean, or the water that they're going to sit in. So I'm going to play with my Distress Oxides. Y'all know I love them very much. And I'm using Salty Ocean and Mermaid Lagoon. Yes, I finally got the new set, so I had to have one of those colors in. So I'm just going to be putting color down. This is a piece of Bristol paper. I'm not worried about the blending. I'm okay with it not being a smooth blend because, again, this is going to represent water. So not looking for a solid coverage. And when I pull in, I first put down the Salty Ocean, and when I'm pulling in the Mermaid Lagoon, I'm just looking for that just to have a different shade going across there because we're going to die cut across this to create the waves or the little tiny peaks in the water, whatever you want to call them. So does not look good at all. It looks kind of scary actually, but that's okay. So I pulled in my Distress sprayer and I just sprayed some water. But I want you to see, since these are Distress Oxides, you could just let it dry like that and you would still get the water droplets. But I actually wanted to remove them, so I did use a paper towel. I'm going to trim down the one edge that had, not a lot of color. And I'm looking to make sure that the Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle die that I'm using is going to be able to go onto this panel. So these dies here are actually from My Favorite Things as well, and they're actually stitched scallops. So I'm using them in reverse. So I'm not going to get the stitch lines at the top, but I'm going to get the water peaks. So again, just a different way to use a die. So I cut a couple of the sections out, and then I trimmed them down with the frame die so that I have the stitching going around. And now I'm using one of my Nuvo brushes. I love these brushes, and I'm just putting a little bit of it's Sapphire or Blueprint Sketch. Yes, I'm not sure what I was thinking there. Just to make the edges a little bit darker so that when they're on top of each other, you get some level of a definition there. So we're going to adhere those in place. Again, I don't care about the bottom. I'm hiding that. So we're all good with that. So the second layer is going to be right down onto the design panel. And now this second layer, I'm going to prop up with some double-sided foam tape. So I want to put that towards the bottom because one of the seagulls I'm going to nestle up underneath one of the waves. So I want to make sure that I have room for that. So that's just going to go straight down onto the bottom of the design panel. So now we have some layers going on because I always like to mention on my cards, very rarely do I do a flat card. So now I'm going to use the Simon Says Intense Black, and I'm going to stamp 3 of the seagulls. These seagulls are so adorable. And the sayings that go with them are even more precious. So I'm just going to stamp 3 of those, and I'm going to be playing with my Prismacolors colored pencils. So this is very simple coloring. I just used 2 shades of each of the colors. I always start with the lightest color first, and then I come in with my shades, and then I'll go back over with my lighter shade. So I kind of work my colored pencils the same way that I do my alcohol markers. I do that same thing. I put the layer of the light coat down first, then I go in with my darkest with the shade. If I have a mid-tone, then I'll come across that to blend that in, and then I come back in with the lightest. So this is kind of the same thing. Doing the light shade first, not putting much pressure. I don't want to fill the tooth of the paper up. And the paper that I'm using here is the Recollections 110 because it's got a nice tooth to it. It grabs the pencil. But I don't want to put too much pressure with that first layer because I don't want to fill in the tooth. Once you fill in the section, it's tough to keep adding more layers and more definition. These are wax-based pencils, so that wax will create like a film if you automatically start out with heavy pressure and you're looking to shade. So you always want to do that on your last layer. So you can see I have the beaks done, and now I'm just using a cool gray, a very pale cool gray, just to add some shading to the seagulls. I like my seagulls to be white with some gray shading. I mean, I know they have some gray on their tails and tips and all that, but I didn't look at a picture. So we're just going to just add just a little bit of touches when it comes to their wings and their bodies. So in this color, I'm putting on so light that I'm actually using this one pencil to create my two shades. So a very light layer first, and then I'll go in on the edges, just putting a little bit more pressure. So you can see kind of how I do work with colored pencils. And I'll actually be having a video on that. It'd be part of my technique series. Colored pencils was one of the items that was chosen. So never fear, it's coming. Don't know when though. So now I'm just going over all of the coloring that I did on the seagulls with white. A white pencil will also help you blend out your edges as well. And I'm actually going to fussy cut these out. These are very easy to fussy cut, so I did not mind. I'm not a fussy cutter person, but I will fussy cut if I have to. So I did leave a little bit of a white border around them, and now we just want to play with the placement. So I want this, the pole that the one is standing on, I do want that in the water, so that's not floating in the air, and then the other ones are also going to be sitting on top of the water as well. So the one in the front, on the bottom wave, we're going to prop him up with a couple of foam squares and then set him down into the wave. The other two, we're going to glue straight down onto the card panel. And what I call that is my design base. This isn't my card base. And I'm using my art glitter glue to do that. And I just think they look really cute. And if they stick up a little bit on the edge, that just adds more texture in my mind. I grabbed a dark blue card base, so I'm actually going to put a sentiment inside. So I've prepped the inside with my anti-static tool, and I'm using my Versamark ink. And I'm using my Recollections white embossing powder. And it says, I want you to be as happy as a seagull with a chip. I think that's cute. Matter of fact, I think it's precious. I'm using my heat gun just so that I can get that melted. And then once it's cool, I wipe the inside just to remove that powder. It will come off. You can use a Swiffer cloth or a brush. Going to glue my design panel straight down onto the front. And you can see on the front, I stamped, "Hey, girlfriend." I just thought it was really cute. I pulled out my Morning Dew Nouveau drops, and I just put some drops in the waves to make it look like it's splashing, and then up on the top to give it a little bit of foam. This card was not damaged. I always tap it to get them to be even. Here's the close-up of the card that we made today. If you like it, please hit that thumbs up. That lets me know. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Please become part of our creative gang here. We have a really good time, and we also throw ideas back and forth within the comments. If you have a comment or question, please feel free to leave that below as well. So for my second announcement on this weekend, the past 2 weeks have been a whirlwind, and I have just found out as of yesterday, Saturday, the 10th, that I am now a design team member of Scrapping for Less. They have offered me an invitation to be part of their creative family, and I am so honored and so excited. This is something that's very new to me. So I say thank you to Scrapping for Less. All of their links will be down below. Check out their blog. Make sure you sign up for the announcements. Check out, they have a subscription kit, card kit. I want you to check that out too. We'll be talking more about that later. And by all means, check out their shop. They have some wonderful items in there, and they are wonderful people to work with. So that's announcement number 2. I say thank you again to everybody here. And always remember, be creative and stay tuned for number 3.